What's going on, guys? We are coming to you here. We have another live tournament stream here. This time we have the UK Welcome to Wraith Sealed Top Cut here. And this is another online event put on by the UK community. This was a Welcome to Wraith limited event. It used the pack simulator to create the packs for the players here, and then it was a limited sealed event, so it wasn't a draft. And we are now going to go live here. So on the left we have Dorinthia, and on the right we have Rhinar. These are both sealed decks. They're going to be a little bit worse than what you might encounter in a more normal situation. So it's one of those things, we'll see what happens here. Okay. And it's going to be an interesting situation where we're going to see maybe some cards that aren't always seen. So let's find out how we're doing here. And this should be a pretty interesting game. So this is the semifinal round. It was 5-round Swiss, cut to the top 4. I myself was playing in this event. Unfortunately, I did come in 5th, so I missed the cut by a sliver. But it's going to be interesting to see how these games go for the players who have made it through to this phase. All right, so let's see what's going on here. Looks like we've seen a Primeval Bellow discarded and a Wounding Blow discarded. I'm not entirely sure what has happened there. Neither player looks to have taken any damage. Oh, okay, so I'm going to ask him to move the thing onto the play field just for ease. But yeah, so we're now seeing looks like a Raging Onslaught played. And I think it was blocked. Or no, the Raging Onslaught was the block. I'm sorry, I'm still getting up to speed on what's going on here. Alright, so Sharpened Steel into a Dawnblade swing. Sharpened Steel into the Dawnblade swing, coming in for 6. It is going to be blocked by a Savage Swing and Wounding Blow, blocking for 6. Then a Stroke of Foresight yellow from Arsenal. So Stroke of Foresight, the target weapon attack gains +2. And then thanks to Reprise, if the defending hero has defended with a card from their hand this chain link, which they have, draw a card, and then put a card from your hand on the top or bottom of your deck. So this should be a fairly interesting situation. Also, I got some shout-outs to do for this stream. Shout-out to Matros007, shout-out to Cats_KC, and shout-out to Complex Artichoke, who have followed the channel in between this stream and the last one. Thanks for your support. Much appreciated. All right. The Stroke of Foresight yellow is going to be countered by a Sink Below blue, which is going to counter it exactly. Now, we do see... this is an interesting situation. So the defender has a total of 8 here. The attacker has a total of 8 here. There is another Stroke of Foresight that could be played from hand to get in over the block, but it's not clear if that's worth it. I think we might just see him... Yeah, so he's going to use this Stroke of Foresight. So this is, you can draw a card and then put a card from your hand on the top or bottom of your deck. So he's going to keep the drawn card, which is a Driving Blade, and I think he's just going to arsenal that card and try to be set up into a position where he can threaten multiple attacks using that Driving Blade. Okay, so there we go. And so ultimately the warrior not succeeding in landing a hit here, but does get some cards out of their opponent's hand. So now we are over to Brute here. And we will have to see what's going on with their hand. This looks like a hand that might just be a club swing or a pack hunt with nothing else, but that's still going to be a fairly high damage attack. Still at 20 life. They do finally move it onto the playfield. That's good. I'm going to say thanks. Okay, so now we have the Brute player here. S4S, I believe. This event is being played thanks to the online community from Flesh and Blood in the UK, which has been very active and hosting some online events. It's been quite productive here, and so we're gonna see the Tome of Fyendal. Was that played from Arsenal? Okay, I missed exactly what happened there. I thought that he didn't have a card in Arsenal. Chat, did you see if that Tome of Fyendal was in Arsenal by any chance? I'm curious as to what was going on with that play. I had thought that he had 2 cards in hand and none in Arsenal, in which case he shouldn't have keeled there, but I might have seen that wrongly. I'm just gonna ask them. I know it's sort of bad form, but yeah. Okay, so it wasn't. Okay, so they did misplay that. So this card, Tome of Fyendal, it's draw 2 cards, and it only heals if it's played from your arsenal. If it is played from arsenal, you then gain 1 for each card in hand, but that was not where it was, so luckily it did catch that. All right, so let's see what's going to happen here. So I believe the warrior player here is Daniel, and the brute player, the Rhinar player here, is Sam, I believe. So let's see how this goes. All right, well, even though he wasn't able to do any real offense on that turn, Sam did manage to heal with that Sigil of Solace and get a card set up into his arsenal. And now we're going to see what happens with the offense here from our warrior player, Daniel. All right. So I think on this turn, to me, this is looking like a turn. He has some awkward stuff, but to me, it's looking like a turn where he can still do a pretty serious threat. You know, I would play that Driving Blade from Arsenal, and then I would just swing from there. And so then that would be coming in for I think it was a red Driving Blade, so that would be coming in for 6 with Go Again. And then he potentially has an attack reaction to boost it further with that Overpower, and he can still threaten an additional attack. I think that's a pretty strong turn. Oh, but it looks like he might be going even bigger. That's interesting. So he's not gonna have the energy to actually play his Overpower, but he's gonna play not only the Driving Blade, your next weapon attack this turn gains +3 and Go Again, but also the Nature's Path Pilgrimage. Your next weapon attack this turn gains +3, and if this hits and you have no cards in your arsenal, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an action card, put it face down into your arsenal. That itself has Go Again. So this is gonna be a pretty scary attack. It's gonna come in here with Strength 9 base. And then if it lands, that is going to be a potential arsenal refill. Probably here, you could really pitch either of these cards. I think you pitch the Snatch that's in hand to have some energy floating after the attack. He does go for the pitch on that Snatch, and then he's going to swing his Dawnblade, coming in for a total of 9. With Go Again, 9 with... Oh, you know what? There is an argument, actually, because he has an unconditional Go Again, there is an argument for having pitched the Overpower here so that you could, if this attack does not hit, you could then play the Snatch afterwards. Although I think it would likely be defended in either case. It might at least get a card out of your opponent's hand. But he's now coming in for 9 Go Again, and if he hits, he will trigger this Nature's Path Pilgrimage effect. If your next weapon, if this hits and you have no cards in your arsenal, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an action card, put it face down into your arsenal. However, we do see a big block here, and Sam does have these Raging Onslaughts and Wounding Blows are neutral cards that block for 3. Can be quite strong in this format. So he does actually manage to block for 9 here, and that is going to end the aggression there from our warrior player. Okay. On the other hand, even though that did end the aggression from our warrior player, it does also leave our brute player with a pretty limited turn. He does have a Scour the Battlescape in his arsenal, and he is going to play that. This card is interesting. You may put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck if you do draw a card, and if it's played from arsenal, it gains Go Again. The problem with this attack is that it has pretty weak damage. So this attack is only coming in for 3. It can easily be blocked by a card from hand. But It's also possible that our warrior player is going to want to take that damage and potentially set up a huge attack with that overpower that he has in Arsenal. We'll have to see what's happening here. He also has a sigil in hand. I don't know. He could definitely afford to take the damage. The question is, will he? And interestingly, Sam does use the ability here, sending the card that he had in hand away. That was an unmovable, which might have been a strong option to put in the arsenal there to defend against a potential strong warrior attack. There's no block, but the Sigil of Solace here is played as an instant to heal 3. So essentially he's going to take 3 and then heal 3 for no overall change. That's kind of like blocking for 3. It's worse against things that have on-hit effects, but that's not what we saw here. And then Sam is going to follow up with a pitch into a club swing for 4. The Romping Club Brute's weapon here is 2 energy for a swing for 4 damage. If you've discarded a card with 6 or more strength, it does get +1 until end of turn, and that is going to be a standard block against that. A little interesting that he chose to block. It does mean that he isn't going to be able to trigger that Nature's Path effect because he won't have the energy to get that red overpower out of his arsenal. So this card in Arsenal is very strong. It can potentially give +6 from a single card, but it does cost 3 energy, so it's an expensive one to actually play. And without having the energy to actually do it, he's not going to be able to do a huge attack this turn. Probably his best bet is still going to be to do the Nature's Path Pilgrimage and swing for 6, but he isn't going to be able to clear his arsenal to potentially fill it with the card from Nature's Path, even if he does get that hit. 18 to 23 life here. Interestingly, the Brute player still on the heals that he gained from earlier. If we look at the cards in deck, though, the Brute player only has 17 cards in deck to the Warrior's 23, which does mean if I'm the Brute player, I have to start worrying, is there a risk that I am going to fatigue out this game? With these sealed decks, the minimum deck size is 30. Okay, so interestingly, we're going to see Dan pitching the Nature's Path and just swinging with the Dawnblade, maybe not wanting to waste that powerful attack buff. He'll pitch it, it'll go to the bottom of his deck, and then maybe later on in the game he's going to be able to play that on a turn when he has a card, on the turn when he has the arsenal open to potentially land the actual on hit. So right now, just coming in for 3. And we'll see what happens here. Now, even though it's just 3 damage, the Brute player does have to think about whether or not he wants to overblock this against a potential attack reaction. Warrior is known for its high number of attack reactions and can definitely have an attack that looks weak at first but can then later become strong. In fact, this very attack could be buffed by +6 if that Raging Onslaught in hand is pitched to play for the to pay for the overpower red that's in Arsenal, so that could be an opportunity to land a lot of bonus damage. Let's see what our Brute player does in response. Looks like it's going to be a single block here from Sam. The Savage Swing, and there we go, the pitch into the red overpower. Target weapon attack gains +4, and because the defending hero is defended with a card from their hand, this chain link gets an additional +2. So that's a +6 from one card. And also importantly, it is going to get that card out of Arsenal. It was kind of clogging it up. The downside is it does mean that Arsenal is now empty. There isn't another card to be put in there, but he did land a big hit on his opponent, and that may also make Sam a little wary of doing such a light block in the future. Okay, and now we are going to see a copy of Drone of Brutality pitched. This is a strong card in this format because if it would be put into the graveyard, it goes to the bottom of the deck instead. Oh, wow. Alpha Rampage. This is one of the strongest cards for Brute, and it is a very rare card. It's somewhat unusual to have this card being used at all in this format. It's a very, very strong card. And because it's rare, it's unlikely that someone will see it in limited normally. But this was definitely a valuable pull here from Sam from one of those sealed packs here. So this is coming in. At strength 9 with Intimidate, and additionally, the card that he discarded was strength 6 or more, so it triggered a second Intimidate from Reinar's ability. When you discard a card with 6 or more attack during your action phase, Intimidate. So he had the one intimidate from the Alpha Rampage, and then one intimidate from discarding this Barraging Brawnhide. So two intimidates, and intimidate is going to temporarily banish a card from hand, and then it will not be able to be used on the defense for this turn, but it will come back at the end of the turn. And then this is also threatening 9 damage. It looks like a single block against this. Just the Iron Song response being used to block for now. That overpower might be saved here, which would mean that we would see probably 6 damage coming through. Interesting situation. Yeah, that Alpha Rampage hits hard, dealing 6 damage even after the block. Now we could have seen a double block there from Dan. He could have used that overpower that he had in his hand as well, but he opted not to do that, and I'm wondering if that's because he's going to plan on pitching it this turn to do a little more aggression. He comes out with a Scar for a Scar Red. This is a very strong card, even though it's just a common. This card is commonly seen in constructed play. It comes in at strength 4 with this red version, and if you when you play a Scar for a Scar, if you have less life than your opponent, gains go again. So 4 with go again, pretty threatening. And this is going to probably be followed up by a Sharpened Steel into Dawnblade Swing for another 5 damage, I think. Though we'll have to see. It's possible that he's only going to swing the Dawnblade without one of those and just try and do some damage here. No, he's going to go for the Sharpened Steel. So Sharpened Steel, very basic card, no energy cost. Your next weapon attack this turn gains +2 for this yellow copy, though the red one is +3. And then he's going to pitch and come in with a Dawnblade Swing for 3 base. The if it hits stuff is not relevant in this case, so it's just coming in for 3 base +2, total of 5 damage. That is a fair amount of damage, but with the life advantage that Sam currently has, he doesn't necessarily need to defend against this. However, you have to start getting careful once you're low on life against a warrior, because all their attack reactions can put them over the top and allow them to do that extra damage to close out the game in some of these situations where you are on low life. So because of that, it can definitely be best to play a little more cautiously at times. And we do see a double block coming in. The Wounding Blow here from hand, blocking for 3. This blocks for 3. And then the Demolition Crew for 2. Oh, he's moving his stuff there too quickly. Yeah, Demolition Crew blocking for 2. And then he is going to block that attack completely, but be left with only 1 card in hand, probably just going to be a club swing. And that's exactly what we see. There's a pitch. This is a blue pitch into a romping club swing for 4. One of the advantages of this club is because it comes in for 4, it's pretty awkward to defend against. So if you defend against a strength 4 attack with anything other than a defense reaction, the best that you're going to get is going to be a 3 block, unless you have unless you have some equipment, some instant, some defense reaction, some other thing that's going to bolster up your defense. And because of that, if you're going to be blocking for 3, you're still going to be taking 1 damage. So even though this turn is just a basic weapon swing, it's still probably going to represent a point of damage poked through unless we see a double block. It's very awkward to double block in this situation. You end up wasting some of the block potential of whatever you're blocking with. So we're probably going to see a single block and 1 damage getting through. And this, the 1 damage getting through aspect of it makes it quite efficient to do attacks like this, just because he pitched a card, didn't even spend it. That card's going to go back to the bottom of his deck, and his opponent lost a card from blocking with it, which gets discarded, and still took a point of damage. All right, now we're going to see it looks like this is going to be our warrior trying to get a little tricky here. A Raging Onslaught is pitched, and we have a Razor Reflex in hand, which could potentially buff it for 2, as well as an Iron Song response to potentially buff it for 3. On the Brute side of things, Raging Onslaught blocks for 3, Primeval Bellow blocks for 3, Awakening Bellow blocks for 3, and Savage Feast blocks for 3. So on the plus side for our Brute player, he is not being caught here with a handful of 2 blocks, which can be a very awkward position to be in against a warrior. However, he is still potentially going to be hit. If he doesn't block this, we'll probably see the Razor Reflex come out just for the bonus damage, and then the Iron Song response going to Arsenal. And if he does block it but doesn't overblock, I think we're going to see at least one of those attack reactions come out to try and poke some damage through the defense there and get our Brute a little closer to his demise. Brute player considering his options against this Dawnblade Swing. Looks like it's going to be a single block. This does give Warrior an opportunity to get in for some damage, so we're going to see the yellow Razor Reflex used. That's going to be an attack reaction for 2 damage, and there is no response, so 2 damage lands. And then he'll probably be putting that Iron Song response in the arsenal. So Iron Song response is a really strong card. So this is an attack reaction that can be played for 0, and it will hit for 3. But it can only be used if the defending hero has defended with a card from their hand this chain link to actually give a buff. However, there was recently a rules change on the Flesh and Blood website, which they have changed the rule. You are allowed to play it even if Reprise is not active, even if the opponent has not defended with a card from hand. You can play that Iron Song response, it just does nothing. And in some cases, that might be something that you would want to do just to get it out of your arsenal. Okay, so looking at the cards in deck, we're now at 11 to 15, so our Warrior player is still further away from fatiguing out by a substantial margin. And now we're going to just see a oh, maybe not. It looked like a Romping Club swing, but maybe not. No, that's what we are going to see. Standard Romping Club swing coming in for 4. Probably going to be single blocked, leading to 1 damage here. Probably going to be single blocked for 1 damage here. Though it depends on what specific card is used to block with. Yeah, a Wounding Blow again coming out from hand. So Wounding Blow once again. This card is very basic, and it's not a very, it's not a very strong card in constructed. But in the sealed format, it's actually pretty good because you can throw it out for 0 and it does like on curve damage, and then additionally it has the block for 3. Now, would you want to have Red Scar for a Scar over Wounding Blow? Yeah, probably. Because I think the potential go again is worth a lot more than the extra point of block. But the Wounding Blow is by no means an awful card. I believe I've even heard that Matt Rogers is playing blue Wounding Blow in his Ira deck for the calling, or at least he claimed that he was going to do that on video. So even in a constructed format, in this case Blitz, it does seem that there is some merit to the Wounding Blow. Okay, so in this case, a Warrior swing coming in for 3. Blocked for 3. Iron Song response from the arsenal coming in, and there was a defending card. There was a card used to defend from hand, so that is going to be a +3. Now, he could use another Iron Song response for a further +3. Doesn't opt to do that, so he's going to have it sticking in his hand. That's interesting. I wonder, like, if he knows how many attack reactions he has in hand, and he's trying to save that for a more important time later. Ooh, and we see what could be a more important time right now. The Warrior has a copy of Warrior's Valor here. Your next weapon attack this turn gains +2, and if this hits, the attack gains go again. So if he plays that and then swings his Dawnblade, he could be coming in for 5. And then if it is blocked, he can use that Iron Song response to sneak in, and then potentially get the go again that could allow him to get a +1 counter on his Dawnblade. So the way that the Dawnblade works, for players that aren't familiar with it, is if it hits for the second time in a turn, you get a +1 counter. And if it has not hit at all in the turn, you lose any +1 counters you might have. So the way that a Warrior typically wants to attack is you're going to be sending out the Dawnblade swing, and that's going to be 3 damage base, and maybe it's going to be buffed by some other cards. Maybe you're going to have a +1 counter, and ideally you're going to score a hit with Dorinthia Iron Song. And her ability then is going to be when your weapon attack hits, you may attack an additional time with that weapon this turn, which gets around the fact that the Dawnblade is normally a once per turn action. So if you can land a hit with Warrior's Valor, you have the go again from Warrior's Valor, and you have the extra attack from Dorinthia's ability, and you end up being able to do some major damage. Now we are going to see a Pack Hunt here. Pack Hunt yellow coming in. This is 5 damage, and it does Intimidate. Unfortunately, it intimidates the card that Warrior probably most wanted to block with. So if he blocks with any of the stuff from his hand, he's going to jeopardize the combination that he can potentially do on this next turn with the Warrior's Valor plus the Iron Song response to sneak in past the defense and get that second attack. So it's a very awkward situation. We could see him pitch some of those cards to play the Unmovable that he has in Arsenal, which would shut down this attack completely. But we also might just see him taking the risk and taking some damage in order to enable a big attack. Let's see what happens with our Warrior player's defense here. Just thinking about it. Bit of a complicated play situation, really. I think he would really like to do that Warrior's Valor into with Iron Song response waiting to buff as a combo, but at the same time, 5 damage is a lot when you only have 10 life. It'll be interesting to see how he responds. We could also see he could pitch his Iron Song response to play the Steelblade Shunt from hand, which would block the attack, and then he could do Warrior's Valor pitching the card that was pitching the card that was intimidated and then swing for 5. Yes, the opponent might just stop it, but if he doesn't, you do have the 1 energy floating for the second swing, and the opponent might overblock, thinking there could be an attack reaction in Arsenal. So that's not a totally unreasonable plan. We could also see him just take the damage to allow him to do the most aggressive turn of his own possible. It's going to be interesting to see how this one pans out. Looks like he might be going for that second plan that I was discussing. Pitches the Iron Song response to play a Steel Blade Shunt, blocking for 5 that will stop the attack completely. Doesn't get the bonus damage because this was not a weapon attack that was just defended, but now he will get that intimidated card back, a blue Sink Below, so he should be able to pitch the blue Sink Below, swing with his Dawnblade, or play the Warrior's Valor, swing with his Dawnblade, and he has 1 floating, so that if he does land this hit, he'll be able to make a second attack. And interestingly, we saw our Brute player not putting a card in Arsenal. I actually think that was a decent move. So the card that he had the option to put in Arsenal was this Awakening Bellow blue. Because you can't pitch from Arsenal, putting blue cards in Arsenal is often unwise because playing them for their effects can be inefficient. And since you can't pitch for them, you can't use them for the main point that you might have them in your deck for. You also can't block with them. So typically, the lower pitch an Arsenal card has, the better. In that you don't need to. In that a card that has a weaker effect but a better pitch is not going to be efficient in that role. Okay, so we're going to see we do see a double block though. And one of the cards used to block is that Drone of Brutality, which is going to go to the bottom of the deck. Our Brute player is running low on cards in deck now. He only has 9 cards in deck. Our Warrior player has 11. And additionally, the Brute player is going to draw up after this turn. Once again, we see a pitch into a Romping Club swing. He might be stuck with that Awakening Bellow in hand and not Arsenal yet again. That is a bit of an awkward situation. I'm a little surprised that he didn't pitch that this turn. But maybe this Primeval Bellow is even less practical? I don't know. I think the Primeval Bellow would be a better card to keep than the Awakening Bellow, but I could be wrong. He may want to keep the blue pitch in hopes of that enabling him to play a high-cost card that he has in his deck. I don't really know what Sam's deck looks like, so it may be that keeping that blue pitch is the best decision under the circumstances. Anyway, this Club Swing is coming in for 4. Oh, and we're going to see all 4 of that damage land. That probably means our Warrior player is going to try to go big this turn. Once again, Sam not putting that card in Arsenal. He has a hand, and having that blue pitch might be just what he needs to play the unmovable that he now has in hand, but we're going to see probably a very aggressive turn from our Warrior player. A yellow Driving Blade. Your next weapon attack this turn gains +2 and go again. And then a Dawnblade swing for 5 with go again. I think we could see, it looks like a double block here. The Pack Hunt and then another Drone of Brutality being used. The fact that this goes back to the bottom of the deck is quite strong. Then an Iron Song response comes in to sneak 3 damage over the top. Let's see whether or not that unmovable in hand is played, or whether or not we're going to be fine with taking the damage here. Looks like it's going to be fine with taking the damage. 3 damage does get in, and then I think we're going to see that Iron Song response pitched for the second Dawnblade swing. There it is. If this attack lands, it will give a +1 counter, but it is going to be blocked with that. Okay, so that's going to be it is going to be a full block on the second attack, so there is no +1 counter. I suspect that Brute's turn is just going to be to Arsenal that copy of Unmovable and pass, though he could pitch it to swing the club, depending on how aggressive he wants to be. No, it's going to be the Arsenal pass, playing it a little safer against Warrior, which is often a good thing to do. Unmovable in Arsenal is a great card against a Warrior player, so this is a big defense reaction. It does cost 3, which is awkward, but it blocks for 6, and if it's played from Arsenal, it's actually going to block for 7 instead. That might be just what Sam needs to shut down one of these big Warrior attacks. 4 cards left in deck, though. He's very close to fatiguing it, and with the Warrior player at 9, that's going to be a dangerous situation for our Brute player here. Now we're going to see a pitch into a standard Dawnblade swing coming in for 3. And this could be followed up by that Stroke of Foresight that we see in hand. And depending on what the Stroke of Foresight draws, that could potentially be something else. Let's see how our Brute player opts to defend against this attack. 3 damage coming in. Blocking, looks like it's going to be an overblock there. Blocking for 5. That does mean that Stroke of Foresight will not actually land any damage now because it is just a +2. I think it's probably going to be the best option here for our warrior player to refrain from playing it, but he might play it and try to get a top deck that's relevant. No, he's going to hold off on it, and I think that's a good idea. At this low number of cards in deck, I think trying to fatigue your opponent out might be a prudent strategy. So in that case, he didn't spend any cards and knocked one out of his opponent's hand. Or, I'm sorry, knocked 2 out of his opponent's hand, and one of those was discarded. The other one did come back because it was a Drone of Brutality. Dawnblade Swing, or I'm sorry, not a Dawnblade Swing, a Romping Club Swing now coming in for 3. Or for 4. So Romping Club coming in for 4. Let's see how our warrior player blocks against this. He's looking through his discard pile here. Now, he does still have that unmovable in Arsenal that he hasn't played. He may be saving that for a bigger attack, but he could play that right here and then still be in a position to pitch. And yeah, I think I would actually go for the unmovable here, pitching the Drone of Brutality, which sounds kind of crazy, but it would leave him in a position where he could then pitch the Blue Snatch, play Nature's Path, swing for 6, and then buff it with the then potentially buff it with the Stroke of Foresight to get in over a block. No, he's actually going to go... Okay, so he's going to use his equipment. So he's going to block for 2 with the Drone of Brutality. This is going to go back to the graveyard, and then he also blocks 1 with his Iron Rot Gauntlet for 1 block with Blade Break. So he is going to block the 1 damage. The Gauntlet is then destroyed. And 1 more damage is going to cut through his defense there. Our Brute player with 4 cards in hand, 3 cards in deck. Our Warrior has 10 cards in deck. I think the Warrior may be playing this one for a fatigue strategy here. Let's see what happens next. It's going to be a pitching the Blue Snatch and playing... Now, the problem with this is that the Nature's Path Pilgrimage here is not actually threatening its effect because the card in Arsenal was not played, and that is why I think I might have played that Unmovable from Arsenal, but it's possible that he wants to save it for a bigger threat in the future. The thing is, I think that playing Unmovable against Brute is unreliable because there's a chance that they will intimidate away the blue pitch that you need to play it efficiently. That may be less of a factor with these sealed decks, though, that aren't exactly going to be playing the most efficient builds possible. Okay, so then it looks like a double block there, blocking for 6, and we are going to see the Stroke of Foresight played to get 2 damage through. The problem with this is that the on-hit effect isn't that relevant, so really this is just being played for the damage, but given that it was going to just stick in hand otherwise, and it does allow him to filter his next draw, I think that it's like not terrible to play this under these circumstances. Our Brute player is probably going to pitch and play his Drone of Brutality, I think. Okay, so he sees a blue and ends up putting it back on top of the deck. I think that's a good move. That means that he knows that he'll be able to play his Unmovable next turn, assuming he doesn't get that intimidated away. And 5 life to 6 life. But the Brute player rapidly running out of cards. He is close to fatigue at this point. Fatigue, I think, is a term that originates from Hearthstone. So in Hearthstone, if you have to draw a card and you don't have a card available to draw in your deck because you've run out of cards, you take 1 damage the first time, then 2 damage the second time, then 3 damage the third time until you lose. And that's known as fatigue, I believe. And in this game, fatigue is usually... There isn't, like, fatigue damage in this game. Like, if you run out of cards in deck, you're not taking damage... but you are going to be probably taking some damage when your opponent does attacks that you can't block. So even though there isn't fatigue in one sense, there is in another sense. Okay, double block there from the Warrior player against that Drone of Brutality. That's a pretty good thing in terms of the total cards remaining exchange. Because that Drone of Brutality comes back to the bottom of the deck, that does mean... Wow, Sam has 3 Drone of Brutality in hand. Honestly, just with those Drones of Brutality alone, he probably doesn't have to worry that much about fatigue. All he has to do is keep blocking with his drones, and he'll have them coming back and allowing at least something. So that's kind of interesting. You know, I think that we may see this as a reason why he's willing to be so risky with the overall number of cards in deck. With all those Drones of Brutality, he might not actually be that worried about a fatigue situation. So this Nimble Strike coming in for 4. A Nimblism was not banished, so this does not have Strength 5 and go again. Blocked by 2 Drones of Brutality, which are then going to go back to the bottom of the deck. Drone is really paying off here. Now our Warrior player has his own fatigue situation card, the powerful Last Ditch Effort. When you play Last Ditch Effort, if you have no cards in your deck, it gains +4 and go again. So if our warrior runs out of cards in deck, that last ditch effort is going to enable him to do a mighty swing indeed. And wow, two Iron Song response reds in hand. Club swing coming in. I think he should play that unmovable personally. I think he should play that unmovable, and then on his turn he can pitch the last ditch effort and come in with the Dawnblade and potentially have those two Iron Song responses. Yeah, there's the pitch, unmovable coming in, and this has been sitting in Arsenal for a long time, defending for 7 against this attack that's coming in for 4. That is going to lock down our Brute player's attack this turn, and it's now going to be on to the Warrior's turn to potentially do some major damage. Let's see what's going to happen next. Okay. So we are going to see I think it's just what I predicted. We're going to see the last-ditch effort being pitched here into a Dawnblade swing, 2 floating, and there are 2 Iron Song responses that can be played if this isn't overblocked. Or even if it is overblocked, we could still see them being played. But with all these drones of brutality, we could easily see the fatigue situation reversing. We could see that this Brute player fatigue the warrior out. These drones of brutality are just going to go back into the deck. There's an Iron Song response red. So that's going to put up to 6 damage, and the current defense is only 4. That does mean that 2 damage is going to get through. And he could potentially play the other Iron Song response red, I believe. Yeah, and there we go. So he's up to 9 damage here. With only 4 being blocked, that means 5 damage is going to get through, but there is still that unmovable, and there it goes. Unmovable played from the Arsenal to shut down this attack. That was very, very favorable for our Brute player. So he only spent 1 card, and he used up 2 valuable attack reactions from our Warrior player's deck. I think Sam is... I was thinking that he was going to lose to Fatigue, but with all the Drones of Brutality in his deck, I think he may win to Fatigue. Our Warrior player only has 2 cards left in deck at this point. And now, to be fair, he has a drone himself, and he does still have that last-ditch effort as well. But this is definitely a situation that is not looking as good for Dorinthia as I was thinking it would earlier. And there we see the pitch and the Romping Club coming in. Just the constant grind of these club swings as a classic Fatigue game plan. Now let's see what we're gonna have happen here on the defensive. Now we could see the Drone of Brutality that is still in hand used to block, and that card does come back. Raging Onslaught used to block. I don't know why he's not throwing in that Drone of Brutality as well. Oh, you know what? I think he's gonna try to land a huge hit with that Overpower that he has in hand. I think that's what's going on here. Yeah, because this can potentially give him +5. I think he's going to, but I don't. Yeah, so he's going like this so that he'll have the energy to, I think, come in with that potential Overpower. So he's gonna pitch and swing for 2, and this does cost 3. So he has, or it's pitch and swing for 3. This card costs 3 to play, so he has to have another card to pitch to potentially play that Overpower. But it is, if we see a double Drone of Brutality block again, that Overpower is going to get in for 4 damage and put our Brute player at 2, which is going to be a difficult spot for him to be in when that last-ditch effort comes calling around, which would be in, wow, that would be this next turn. Oh, man. Who will win in the War of the Fatigue game plans, Drone of Brutality or last-ditch effort? This is a very interesting situation. I don't think I've seen a situation like this very frequently in this game. It looked like Sam was going to be out of there just because of the Fatigue situation, but with all those Drones of Brutality that he has managed to pull in this limited game, it could well be the case that the Drones of Brutality are going to buy him enough time to prevail in the long term or run his opponent out of threats. That can totally happen in this game. I don't know if that's going to happen this time, but it's totally something that can at least conceivably happen. And let's see here. Sorry if anyone sent chat messages in the last bit. I lost power on my phone momentarily. It's back now. I'm watching the chat again, so my humble apologies if I've missed some messages. Feel free to send any of that again. This is going to be really interesting. Next turn, our warrior can potentially do his big last-ditch effort play, and we're going to see if that's going to prevail here. I think this is a really, really interesting game. I think the Brute player here is trying to determine, what have I seen? What could potentially be coming next from the Warrior? He goes for the classic play, the double block with the Drones of Brutality. These are going to come back. This is his Fatigue strategy. He's able to absorb these attacks without losing cards. And now we're going to see, is it going to be the Overpower from Warrior? He could also save the Overpower to try to do an even huger turn next turn. No, he's going for it. He's going for it. There's the Overpower. Overpower played, +5. So yellow Overpower +3 and then +2 because there were 2 cards defending from hand. So that's going to be a total of 4 defense against the 8. Offense, 4 damage gets through. Brute reduced to 2 life. Warrior on 4 life. Warrior draws his last full hand of the game in all likelihood. No cards left in deck. He's going to draw all 4, but that means that Last Ditch Effort is now enabled. This Last Ditch Effort could be the crucial card for our Warrior player. When you play Last Ditch Effort, if you have no cards in your deck, gains +4 and Go Against. That's going to be Strength 8 with Go Again, and then he can pitch another one of his cards and play the Drone of Brutality for another 4. That's a huge amount of damage, and I think it might be enough to kill this Brute player. Let's see what happens, though. If Brute does a powerful attack here, well, we'll have to see. If Brute does a powerful attack here, Warrior will probably have to block, which will mess up this next turn. There are still 2 pieces of armor left, so if it's just a club swing, we could easily see the 2 pieces of armor that Warrior has remaining used to just block up and then do the best attack possible. No, okay, so he's okay. So he blocks with the Drone of Brutality because that is going to be coming back. He won't have it in his hand, so it does mean that his big turn is going to be a little bit smaller. Going down to 2 life now. Down to 2 life. Drone of Brutality goes back to the bottom of the deck. And both players have now essentially run out of cards. But we have a 4-card hand versus a 3-card hand and 1 card in deck. So the Brute player, despite starting to run out of cards much quicker, has actually had more cards remaining than our Warrior, thanks to that. Thanks to those, Thanks to those Drones of Brutality. He has 3 to the Warrior's 1. This is the time for Last Ditch Effort, though. This could be huge. I have to say, I do think it was a bit of an error to actually block like that instead of just using both pieces of equipment. He draws a frowny face. I think he may have realized that that was a mistake. I think that he could win the game right here, right now, if he had kept his Drone of Brutality and just blocked with the equipment. But because he didn't, this is actually quite blockable. This is actually quite blockable. But it would likely be followed up with a simple Dawnblade swing. Chris Lyon says no ditch effort. Why is he pitching the Last Ditch Effort? Are you kidding me? Oh, you know what it is? Yeah. The card went back in the deck. That's right. So it's even worse than I thought. It's not just that he's doing less damage with his big combo. It's also that Last Ditch Effort is disabled. Thank you for pointing that out, Chris. I didn't realize that until now. Yeah. So shout out to Chris Lyon in the chat for pointing that out. That is brutal. He really put himself in a tough situation with that move. This could have been the winning turn for him because he could have played the Last Ditch Effort here for a Strength 8 with Go Again, followed up with the Drone of Brutality for 4. That would have been 12 damage. And this hand from our Brute player can only block 9, so that would be it. That's just game over. Even if he used both of his pieces of equipment, that's just it. Game over. But because he blocked with the Drone of Brutality, instead of blocking with his armor, he put a card in his own deck, which sabotaged his Last Ditch Effort, and now he's just making a Dawnblade swing. The situation has suddenly become very different, and I think that might be the mistake that will cost him the game. It's possible that he'll make a comeback, though. I don't know. I don't think he can win now. I don't think he's going to be able to do his full turn, and I think that these Drones of Brutality just coming back are going to be his demise, I think. Because on this next turn, the Brute player can block with both of his drones, then he can pitch the yellow Primeval Bellow and play the red drone for 6. The Warrior will have to defend and can't just use equipment. So he's going to be stuck in a spot where he will not be able to do his full combo. If he had just blocked that last club swing with 2 pieces of armor and kept the Drone of Brutality in his deck, kept the Drone of Brutality in his hand, he would have had lethal this turn. But because he did it this way, I think that Sam is going to be able to grind him out with those Drones of Brutality. Very interesting situation. Oh no, but wait a minute here. We see a triple block. Oh, but it's fine. He doesn't actually need anything else. The triple block is fine. So in theory, he knows everything that his opponent has and should know that this isn't, and should know that there isn't going to be an attack reaction at this point. But the triple block is actually going to be enough because all he has to do is do a club swing for 4, and it's still going to require a card. It's still going to require a card from hand. And he can't block with that Drone of Brutality or he'll sabotage his Last Ditch Effort again. He needs to block probably with the Snatch here because it doesn't do anything anymore. Yeah, I think he blocked with Snatch because the card draw from it is now useless. And then on his turn, he can do Last Ditch Effort and then into a Dawnblade swing. But that's really, I don't think that's going to be enough. Yeah, so now he blocks. Now he blocks using his equipment. If he had done this a turn ago, he would have won the game. Now he's going to be left at 1 life, and I think this is going to be game over. Big Medsy says, gutting to get to that point and defend with the wrong card. Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize it at first either. I think that he thought that he could defend with the Drone of Brutality and then do last-ditch effort into Dawnblade, which is almost as good. But I think that that was a crucial error. Now, on the plus side, he is going to get the yellow card out of the Brute player's hand finally. So it's going to be a little odd here. But all he can do after this is swing his Dawnblade, and we can just see the Drones of Brutality blocking it every turn. Okay, so yeah, full block. Yeah, I actually think... Yeah, no, he's lost. He's lost. He can't win. He can't win at this point. All that's going to happen now is so he swings the Dawnblade, the Primeval Bellow is going to come out to block it, and then all the Brute player has to do... so all the Brute player has to do now is block with 2 of his drones and use the other one to swing club, and that's the game. Okay, so unfortunately this was a exciting ending, but it was exciting for a bad reason in some ways. That little smiley face that we see drawn here, or the frowny face rather, means that the Warrior player realized his crucial error, and that error is going to cost him the game. All he can do now is swing his Dawnblade, he can play his Drone of Brutality, which is better than swinging Dawnblade, but it's not better enough to matter. So that's like a minor error, but in either way, the response to it's going to be the same. It's going to be a double block with these Drones of Brutality, and then a swing from the Romping Club, and that's going to close out the game. Because the Warrior player is going to have to lose his last stuff blocking, and he's going to slowly be taken out by the power of Drone of Brutality here. Very interesting game. So Warrior could have won this game if he had defended with his if he had not defended with his Drone of Brutality. He would have been able to block that club swing with just the 2 pieces of armor instead, and then do last ditch effort into Drone of Brutality and overwhelm Brute's defenses. But unfortunately, it just he messed up the sequencing there, and is now unable to close it out. He's going to be unable to close it out. All he can do now is swing his Dawnblade. It's going to be blocked by those 2 drones. Other drone comes in for a club swing, and that's the game. And I think he must have called it. Yeah, I think he's writing. Yeah, he writes GG on the board. Yeah, so that's going to be that. Tough situation there. Very tough situation for the Warrior player. He had the win in hand, but unfortunately he misplayed it, and it was close enough that was all that was needed to close out the game. Okay, so that's going to do it for this semifinal match. We are going to see Sam advancing to the finals. I'm not sure if the other semifinal has concluded yet, but if it has, I'm going to immediately stream the final, and we'll see what happens next. Adanaz9 says, live and learn. Yeah, so tough situation to have happen to you, but will probably be a learning moment for the future. And, Drone of Brutality, another card, you do see this one sometimes in a constructed format, whether that be Blitz or Classic Constructed. Not always played, but it is going to be a strong one. In Limited for sure, because so many of the games are going to go to Fatigue with only a 30-card deck. And as we saw here, Sam's triple Drones of Brutality were just excellent at maintaining his ability to stay alive here, even when there is that much threat. Okay, so that's gonna do it for this game, guys. But I'm actually not sure. I don't know if I'm streaming the finals or if the other guy is streaming the finals. We will figure out what's going on there, and if I'm streaming the finals, I will stream it shortly. So let's see what's happening here. I'm gonna check in on their Discord server real fast. Okay, and so Dante won the other game, and so I think I'm going to stream that one, and I am going to just try and get over there directly. So let's see what happens here. All right, so that was the semifinal, and we're now going to see me trying to navigate the tabletop simulator menus. Let's see here. So apparently, okay, I think the server's not up yet. There we go. Okay, let's see what's going to happen here. The finals. the finals. All right, so let's see what happens here. All right, so I'm trying to get set up here. Just a little tip, if you're doing these sorts of commentaries, the best option is to make the caster be player color black on Tabletop Simulator, because then he'll be able to see both hands and potentially highlight cards and see what they are. All right, what's going on here? All right, so I'm talking about the player color black situation here. Not the most exciting topic for the stream, but we will hopefully soon be streaming the finals of this tournament. Shout out to BrewTapCast and to Fitty Shades for following. Much appreciated, guys. Thanks for the follows. It is good to see people coming and supporting the channel there. So I appreciate the interest. All right, I think they're still setting up here. And this is Dante actually has a warrior deck that he was playing in this event. I was playing against Dante in the last round of Swiss. We were playing it out to see who would make the top cut, and as you may have guessed by the fact that I am casting and he is playing, he was victorious in that game. His warrior deck is pretty scary. Was there just like some weird music playing? What was that? Oh, you know what? I have a stream that is running in the background, and I am just gonna shut that down real fast so it doesn't interfere with this. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, we are back. Let's do it. This is gonna be the finals. So who will prevail? Dante on the right has a warrior deck with a lot of power, in my opinion. He has, in particular, he has just a ton of powerful attack reactions. In our game, I was thinking that I was doing fairly well, and I was running him out of attack reactions, and that I was going to be able to get him with the, and that I was going to be able to get him into a spot where he wasn't that threatening, and then come in with a bunch of swings. You know, I was overblocking and playing conservatively and stuff, and it turned out he just had more and more and more attack reactions coming. And through the power of all those attack reactions, he was able to push enough damage through. At the end, I was actually killed even through an overblock, and I thought that I was playing really conservative and that I was going to be able to outlast him, but it was not the case. So that's actually an interesting thing where, relative to constructed play, in limited, the threat of just a ton of attack reactions is actually a lot higher than it is in constructed. So in a constructed format, you can definitely see a situation where it's like, you know, you might face a warrior that has a lot of attack reactions, but you might counter that by putting in a lot of defense reactions. Especially some of the more control, like long-term decks, like we see a dash deck, for instance. It's pretty common for a dash deck to run some copies of Unmovable and Fate Foreseen and Sink Below, and be able to put in a lot of defense reactions against a warrior. But in limited, there's a fair chance that you might just not have an option to have anywhere close to the number of defense reactions as they have attack reactions, which could leave you in an awkward spot. It certainly did happen for me. All right. Chris Lyon in chat says, nice add-in as the induction chamber was MVP. I think I missed the previous message before that, so my apologies for not knowing the context. Induction chamber is excellent in a sealed format, though. It is great. All right, the players say let us know when to start. I'm saying good to go. Let's do this. All right. Brute versus Warrior for the finals. Dante on the right, by the way, has done very well in these online tournaments for the UK. Hamertron says, Dante robbed me. I don't know what happened in that game. Dante's a tough opponent. You know, he's an experienced player, and he's done well. We were discussing a little bit after the game, and he said that he's actually had a fair amount of practice in the limited environment, which is definitely something that I have not had, and which could be a crucial advantage when it comes to taking one of these tournaments. All right, so now he is going to. We're going to see the Brute player starting us off. So Sam is going to lead off with an Awakening Bellow here. Next, Brute attack action card you play this turn gains +1. It does have Intimidate. And then he follows up with a Savage Swing, discarding a random card. He discards a red Drone of Brutality. I believe that does trigger an Intimidate, even though the drone is not truly discarded. And Hamertron says he's very experienced. It was a great game, by the way. Dyson says it was very close. Okay, cool. Yeah, good to hear about a close game. Chris Lyon earlier says Dante got some nice equipment stuff. Yeah, Dante has some very strong equipment. He has a full suite of equipment, actually, including the refraction bolters and then 3 pieces of armor for all of his other slots. So very much a good spot. Chris says, I prevented him to be in top last one. Congratulations, Chris. All right. Scar for a Scar coming in. 4 go again. Taking that 1 point of damage may have actually proven to Dante's advantage, as it does mean that this Scar for a Scar is now going to be 4 with go again instead of just 4. Scar for a Scar, very strong card. It features in both limited and constructed play. Hamertron says he also has a lot of attack reactions. Yeah, I think he has like over 10 attack reactions. It's crazy. I was mentioning this after the game. I said that I think he has more attack reactions than I had warrior cards. And I think that might have been wrong. I think I had a few more warrior cards than I had remembered, but his total number of attack reactions is nuts. It's like more than 10, I believe. So this should be a pretty wild situation. Actually, my one other loss in Swiss was also to a warrior that had a bunch of attack reactions. I think he had 4 red Iron Song responses. It was brutal. And I thought, okay, that's weird. That's kind of a fluke, only to lose to a similar thing in the last round of Swiss. I think that may be my own inexperience with the format showing. It's possible that there's a high threat that Warrior's just going to have a ton of attack reactions that you're going to have to think about. Now, to be fair, it is also, I had a large number of attack reactions, or a relatively large number of attack reactions with my own Warrior card pool for this, but a lot of them were bad. Like, you had cards like, what's it called? Biting Blade, for instance, just not really a very strong card. Stuff like that. Okay, the other thing to know is that Dante is playing a large number of cards in his deck, so he's currently at 28, and Sam is at 24, so Dante already has the advantage there, despite having actually played almost the same number of cards. He is playing well above 30, which I think is a good idea in some cases, given that this format does often tend to go to the fatigue situation. Club Swing comes in and does hit Dante for 4. Okay, so now we are now seeing the Warrior's Valor into Dawnblade. Warrior's Valor, classic card. Next weapon attack this turn gains +3, and if this hits, the attack gains go again. The Warrior's Valor itself has go again. So this is coming in for strength 6 with go again. And we do see a double block, and both blocking cards are going to be able to block for 3. So that's going to be a full block, but here come those attack reactions that I was just discussing. A Stroke of Foresight played from hand. Target weapon attack gains +3 with reprise. If the defending hero has defended with a card from their hand, this chain link. Draw a card, then put a card from your hand on the top or bottom of your deck. So this is going to be pretty useful, I think. When Dante draws this card, if he has a card with more than 1 energy, he's probably going to want to keep that in hand and put one of his previous cards on top or bottom. And that's exactly what he's doing. The reason that I say this is so good is because now he's going to be able to pitch that yellow card, do his second swing with his Dawnblade, and if that swing doesn't get double blocked, the second Stroke of Foresight will confirm the hit and get him that +1 counter. So because he scored the hit, Dorinthia's ability, once per turn effect, when your weapon attack hits, you may attack an additional time with that weapon this turn. That does mean that the once per turn action of the Dawnblade is defeated, and it's going to be able to make that second attack. And then the Warrior's Valor on hit, go again, allowing that second attack. Blocked for 3, second Stroke of Foresight comes in, hits for 3, and gets Dante that +1 counter. This is just the attack reaction focused gameplay that Warrior really likes to make. So each of those attacks hit for 3 damage. Nasty situation if you are Sam. Really not where I think he wants to be, and he's just going to have to arsenal and pass. So Dante now with the powerful +1 counter on Dawnblade. This is a chance for him to potentially try to get some damage out there. On the minus side for him, those copies of Scar for a Scar that he has in hand do not have Go Again because he does have higher life than his opponent. Let's see what's going to happen here with Dante. I think probably we're going to see that red Nature's Path Pilgrimage played, and then a swing for 7 in all likelihood. And if it gets in, we might see the Refraction Bolters trigger for another swing. Don't know for sure. That's just maybe what I would be thinking if I were playing this hand. That Scar for a Scar doesn't have Go Again, so it's a little awkward. Ooh, and it looks like he's doing a complicated pitch where he's going to be pitching both of those copies of... He is going to be pitching both of his copies of Scar for a Scar. So then, maybe because he has this early life lead, he's thinking that's going to be less necessary. So then, Nature's Path Pilgrimage, buffing up the Dawnblade, +3, and if this hits and you have no cards in your arsenal, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an action card, put it face down into your arsenal, and it has Go Again. Very strong card in this environment here, as it is buffing him up to 7, and it does mean that if this lands, he will potentially refill arsenal, and he can also potentially use those Refraction Bolters, break them, and get a second swing. The 2 energy that he's floating does threaten potential big attack reactions also. I think if I am Sam in this situation, I want to do a full defense. I might even overblock this, but I at the very least want to block 7 from this to try to break that Dawnblade counter. Let's see if that's what he ends up doing. He does have the ability to block. He has a total of 11 block in hand, so he could overblock it. The question is just, is that worth doing here? Seeing the cards in hand, we know that there isn't the option. There isn't actually going to be the option for the warrior player here to come in with an attack reaction, since all he has is that sink below. But Sam doesn't know that and might well go for an overblock to try to ensure that he stops the attack even with an attack reaction, given that he really wants to shut down that Dawnblade counter. He blocks 9, so that overblocks by 2. If there was a red attack reaction, it could still get in, but there isn't. The Dawnblade counter is knocked out. So that's definitely going to be, Sam probably breathing a sigh of relief there as he manages to stop the powerful Dawnblade attack, knocks that counter off. This is the weakness of the Dawnblade. Yes, if you get those 2 hits, you get the +1 counter, which is really strong, but then if it doesn't hit, you lose any of the +1 counters you might have had. So those +1 counters can really become only a temporary advantage if the opponent follows up with strong defense. Scour the Battlescape played from Arsenal. You may put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck if you do draw a card. If Scour the Battlescape is played from Arsenal, it gains Go Again. Coming in for Strength 3 with Go Again, the filtering ability probably not going to be used because the current hand does allow Sam to just pitch that yellow card and follow up with a Club Swing for 4, which is pretty solid, quite frankly. Dante's hand's not great. He blocks with a Raging Onslaught. This is one of those big cards there. So this blocks for 3. It's a pretty strong card in some situations. It's basically just a vanilla card that's just stats, but sometimes just stats are all you need. Then the Club Swing, blocked only by the Refraction Bolters for 1 block. Refraction Bolters, when your weapon attack hits, you may destroy Refraction Bolters. If you do, the attack gains Go Again. Blocks 1. That does mean only 3 damage is going to get through. And destroying the Refraction Bolters is often a good move, I think. The reason that I say that is because, blocking with the Refraction Bolters is often a good move. And the reason that I say that is because it does enable you to have a bigger turn later. Ooh, and now we're going to see it's going to be an attempt to get in with the Iron Slug Determination. I think this is why he blocked with the Refraction Bolters. I think he may be planning to use these to give him Go Again. So he wanted to use the block there before he destroys them so that he doesn't waste that defense. And now the Dawnblade attack coming in for 4 with Go Again. 4 with Dominate. Does not have Go Again, but if it hits, it can be given Go Again by the Refraction Bolters. With 2 energy in hand, we could see that Razor Reflex being used to get in over a block as well. Tough situation there for Sam. Now, in terms of defensive options, Sam does have an Unmovable in hand, which could block this attack completely, but then the Razor Reflex could get in there to land the hit. Could be a tough situation. He could also go for a standard block, perhaps blocking with 1 of his cards plus a piece of armor, and that is what we see here. 1 card plus a piece of armor. Now the Razor Reflex is used. Gets in for 3. Refraction Bolters is used, and then we're going to see another swing. So this second swing is going to come in for 4. So it's coming in for 4 with Dominate yet again. And now, but here's the thing. Sam can still block it even without, even if he doesn't want to use that unmovable, he can still block it. We could see him use the, we could see him block with the Primeval Bellow plus his Iron Saw or his Iron Rot Plate to block for 4 and prevent the +1 counter on that Dawnblade, or he could go for the unmovable from hand. Personally, I think blocking with the equipment and then putting the unmovable in arsenal might be a better plan. But let's see what he thinks about it. That's the question. Do you want to preserve the unmovable and put it in arsenal, or do you want to preserve the plate? In terms of cards in deck, Sam is at 14. Dante at a mighty 24. So Dante far ahead. But as we saw last time, with those 3 copies of Drone of Brutality, Sam can afford to go lower on cards in deck than his opponent and potentially still come back for the win. So we'll have to see whether or not Sam can pull off a repeat of his performance in the semifinal here in this finals game. He goes for the unmovable. Okay. I think I would have preferred to use the equipment, but no foul. Does end up blocking that. And the reason that I say that I would have preferred to use the equipment is because I would rather be in a position where I have unmovable in arsenal and no equipment than a position where I have this Sigil of Solace in arsenal and no unmovable. I just think if you compare those two states, I think one is better than the other. Okay. Well, either way, though, he did stop the attack, preventing that +1 counter from the Dawnblade. And now we're going to see another Nature's Path Pilgrimage plus Swing, and there are 2 Iron Song responses in hand to potentially get this some damage through. This time it's only a yellow Nature's Path Pilgrimage, so it's only going to be +2 damage for this next weapon attack. So the yellow version of Nature's Path is +2, the red is +3, and the blue is +1. Double blocked with a Drone of Brutality and a Savage Feast, blocking for 5 total. Iron Song response yellow and Iron Song response blue played to get a bonus 3 damage, cutting through that defense. Ouch. Now, Sam has the mighty Alpha Rampage in hand, but he can't afford to play it. As an additional cost to play Alpha Rampage, you have to discard a random card, and he only has 2 cards in hand. So if he pitches for it, he won't have the card that he needs to discard to play it. He's actually going to pitch it, and pitch his other card to come in with the Romping Club. And it is countered by a Sink Below from Arsenal. I think Dante has a really strong deck here in terms of his reactions. So he has some red defense reactions and he has some strong attack reactions. I would say that the weakness of Dante's deck, if there is one, would be that he doesn't have that many reliable ways to give his Dawnblade attack go again to allow the potential 2 hits. If he had a few more copies of Warrior's Valor or Driving Blade, his deck would be even stronger. So he does have some of that here, though, and we're going to see the Warrior's Valor blue being used. Your next weapon attack this turn gains +1, and if this hits, the attack gains go again. And coupled with the Dawnblade with no buff, that is going to come in at a total of Strength 4. So the red version of this card does give you +3, and it turns out that is typically better, but even the +1 is enough to put it above the point where a normal block can stop it. So a total of 4 damage if it hits go again, and potentially activating Dorithia's ability as well. And it is going to be blocked for 4. There's that Razor Reflex. Once again, Dante with the attack reactions, managing to land a 3 damage hit. And he is then probably going to pitch his Sink Below to allow a second swing. Sink Below pitch, Dawnblade swing coming in, second swing for 3, and if this one hits, it will get a +1 counter. Dan, this will be viewable afterwards, so it's already gonna be viewable as a VOD on Twitch, and I am probably gonna upload it to YouTube as well. But yeah, it's gonna be viewable. So then the for what it's worth, though, I didn't think you played terribly. I do think that that situation, it was kind of a heartbreaker at the end there with that last ditch effort. But I don't think you played that badly. I think that or at least, maybe it's merely that I am inexperienced enough in limited play to understand like the true advantage or whatever. But I didn't think you were playing awful by any means. Okay. So Sam successfully blocked that second attack, I believe, which does mean that the Dawnblade there is going to. It does mean that the Dawnblade is not getting the +1 counter. Then he's going to come in with a club swing for 4. Sam is, I think, trying to prolong the game. He's defending relatively heavily, and he's hoping to just get to a point where those Drones of Brutality will give him late game inevitability. But Dante still has 16 cards left in deck, and having played against Dante already, I can tell you that he has a lot of attack reactions left. Dan says, yeah, dude, I knew that at that point. I thought I was being clever with the drone. Yeah, so that, didn't go great. Adenaz9 says, I just want to mention that I'm not able to watch due to working, but I can listen. Your commentary is top-notch, Tower number 9. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the support there. So then we're going to see the Wounding Blow pitched from Dante. Wounding Blow yellow. He plays a Sharpened Steel yellow. Next weapon attack this turn gains +2. And then there's the Dawnblade coming in for 5. So Dawnblade swing for 5. Let's see what Sam does on the defense. Dante has some options on offense in his hand. Now Sam has squirreled away that Sigil of Solace red in Arsenal and has yet to play it. It looks like it's going to be an exact block for Sam. Blocking 5. He blocks with the Savage Feast and one of those Drones of Brutality. And then Dante is going to pitch and play the Biting Blade. So target weapon attack gains +3, and the Reprise is active, giving weapons you control +1. So this is actually going to be for +4. And in this situation, we see a blue Sink Below played, so there's now going to be a total of 7 defense here versus 9 offense. So 2 damage is going to get through, but Sam is not dead. Dan says they should fly around for official event commentary if you aren't playing in the event. Very knowledgeable and clear for newer players like myself in terms of what's happening. Hey, thanks. I really appreciate that. I am hoping to do more commentary as the game develops and so on. Right now, obviously, flying someone around is somewhat imprudent, but I'm hoping to do some more commentary as the game develops, and we'll see what happens there. I do think that there are also some great commentators in New Zealand. I think that I personally recommend the Session Blood guys. I think they have some really cool stuff. They don't do as many commentated gameplay videos right now, but they have a podcast and some kind of general strategy type stuff that I found really interesting. And I think they said that they're planning to release some more gameplay commentary this year, so I'm hoping to see that myself, and I would definitely recommend other players check that out. I think it's a good resource. There is also The Calling is being streamed with commentary. I don't remember who the commentators are, but they seemed like they were quite knowledgeable over there as well. Really, a lot of the New Zealand players are, I think, the kind of at the top of the game right now, just because owing to the strong virus response in that country, they have had the ability to play many events in person. Yeah. Dyson says Session Blood's episode about playing against Dorinthia was invaluable today. Yeah, they have an episode on playing against Dorinthia, and I think also one about playing against Katsu, which are 2 heroes, probably the 2 hardest heroes to defend against at least in classic constructed gameplay. So I think those can be quite helpful for people having problems with those heroes. Yeah, and I would definitely recommend them. Check out Session Blood on YouTube. Okay. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So anyway, what we saw while I was discussing that stuff with the chat was a weapon swing, the Romping Club coming in there from Sam yet again. This time Dante doesn't block, takes the damage down to 4 life. Dante is dipping a little low on life, but he's now coming in with a Dawnblade swing of his own. And here's the thing. Sam has that Alpha Rampage in hand. If somehow he can live to a situation where he can actually play the Alpha Rampage, that could be what he needs to close out the game, or at least take the tempo back and be on the offense here. But I'm not sure if he's going to get the opportunity to do it. Let's see what happens here. Jankovic with a interesting alien smiley there. Sorry, I'm not up on my Twitch emoji. I'm not sure what exactly that means. The Dawnblade swing is coming in here for 3. But here's the thing. Iron Song response red. Iron Song response red. If there's a block from hand, this 3 could turn into 9. And Dyson says Sam might want to not block. Yeah, so if Sam doesn't block this and only uses his card from Arsenal, his Sigil of Solace, he will actually take no damage because the Iron Song responses won't be able to be played for stat boost since they won't have reprise enabled. And then maybe that's the time that he needs. Yeah, and then he could do his Alpha Rampage and quite possibly get 2 Intimidates, throw out a lot of damage, and try to retake tempo in this game. That absolutely could happen. But the problem is, if there's other attack reactions, they could be played. Like, if there's more Stroke of Foresight, that could be played even if there's no reprise enabled. So it is kind of a dangerous game. It's kind of betting on that. Jankovic, it's my sneeze response. Bless you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Chris says he could sigil and no block, big brain plays. Yeah, or Dan says big brain plays. Both of you are showing up on orange on my app here. Chris says he should try the odds. Yeah, so this could be... Oh man, it's a risky play to make, but it could pay big dividends here, and it could be just what he needs to get back on the offense. That could be really exciting if that is what ends up happening. Dyson says, yeah, I think it's his only path to winning. Is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? Is Sam going to brave the potential for non-reprise attack reactions and just tank this with his Sigil of Solace? Or is he going to block? Double block. He overblocks, but this is only a block of 4, so he's blocking 4. A Dawnblade Iron Song response used to go to +3. Second Iron Song response used up to strength 9, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you count the heal, that means 2 damage is getting through, and that is just enough to finish the game. Sam is out. Dante's attack reactions prevailed. And that extra damage was just enough to get through Sam's defenses. If he had even just thrown in the Iron Rot plate, he could have lived through this attack. But without having done that, he was unable to block the full attack, and we did see his demise. All right, so Dante winning another event. He's done well in these UK online events. So congratulations to Dante for another event won. This event was sponsored by Underworld Games, I believe. And shout out to Underworld Games for putting on an online armory event using the simulated sealed Welcome to Wraith here. Now, Dyson says, I don't think he was coming back even if he throws in the Iron Rod. Now, yeah, it would have been tough. I think Dante, let's take a look here. Let's see how much attack reaction Dante still had left. So Dante still had 2 biting blades left for attack reactions after all of that. So he was by no means out of gas. It's possible that even with the Iron Rot, with the Iron Rot, Sam could have turned things around, but it would have been a tough situation for him. Dante's deck here is really strong with both the attack and defense reactions, offering him a lot of options that are difficult to predict. So kudos to Dante for a strong win in another online event. That was the UK online simulated sealed Welcome to Wraith, sponsored by Underworld Games. So shout out to the UK Flesh and Blood community and to Underworld Games in particular for putting on this event. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks to you all for watching. On Tuesday, I'm going to be streaming my own games from this event. At least some of them. I don't know if I'm going to do all of them, but I'm going to stream at least some of my own games from this event on Tuesday so you can see what my games were like. And that's going to be at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern in the U.S. time. And then I may have some unscheduled streams as well if there's other cool stuff that is coming up in the future. So stay tuned for more. And I would also recommend that people check out the calling stream, which I believe is going on right now live from New Zealand, as they are streaming the big Flesh and Blood tournament known as the Calling, and it'll be interesting to see how that one's going as well. All right, thanks again for watching, guys. Much appreciated, and we'll be back later with some more Flesh and Blood content. I may do some Star Wars Legion streams in the future as well. You never know. And if you're interested in some written articles, check out towernumber9.com, where I have written strategy articles with more to come there as well. Thanks again, guys. Good games, and I will catch you later.